You betcha. Well, welcome. Welcome back, I should say. What are we on? Do we know how many episodes we've recorded so far?
No idea.
No, I'm going to go look while you're
12?
doing the intro. I'll figure
12,
it out.
13? Okay, so
Did we just officially hit a year?
Yes, we did.
Congratulations,
Congrats.
guys.
Congrats to us, I guess, and to our listeners.
Yeah.
All right, I'm actually going to do the intro now. Welcome to the BookNerds podcast, where we have candid conversations about books, entrepreneurship, leadership, the eye care industry, and pretty much everything in between. I'm your host, Dr. Kyle Clutie, and I'm with my esteemed colleagues, Dr. Aaron Warner and Dr. Brianna Rue. And it's been a while since we've been on with the podcast. I think we've had to delay it maybe 2 or 3 weeks a few times. So how have you guys been?
It is gearing up for season. I'm excited this is coming. So we rescheduled it last week. I was at the Inc. 5000, so excited to kind of bring in some of those stress points into the book, not leading right into it. And October has been nuts. It was conference season. So Aaron, I think you were feeling the same way. Kyle, you were early October feels like forever ago when we met up.
Does.
So yeah, just heading into the Super Bowl month.
Yep. No, same here. I thought it would slow down a little bit, and the opposite happened. And by quick count, it looks like this is number 14.
Number 14, episode 14. Awesome.
I've read 14 books. I haven't read that many books since high school.
Bravo.
No, it's pretty cool what you can accomplish with the right team with you.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I would agree. It's been really busy. You know, Brianna, you're exactly right. We saw each other the first weekend of October in Colorado Springs, Colorado for the Vision Source Protocol event, and that seems like a long time ago. That was just like 30 days, almost exactly a month ago, and it seems way longer than that. Since then, I think I did a lecture at GRT. This Friday I'm going to Indy to do something there, and then I'm to do a protocol meeting there, and then on to the Mod Live event after that. So, and then after that, really, I'm kind of open, which is kind of nice. No travel for the rest of the 2025 year.
Yeah, that is exciting. And Kyle, I want to thank you ahead of time. We're tapping into Sophia. I don't think we've really hit on what she's been doing at your office. But she got one of the books that we haven't talked about is Working Genius that I read. Sophie got fully certified in, and so we are stealing her for a morning to really work with our leadership team at my office to set in on the Working Geniuses and understand how we lead as a team based upon our strengths and overcoming our weaknesses. So I'm excited for that, and also kudos to her and probably you, because very unoptometrist-like of her, she's actually charging us an appropriate rate for doing so, right? And I think there's a lot of kudos to her to say, you appreciate your value, and I mean that in the positive way. She's, it's definitely not an inappropriate amount, but it's not, hey, give me $5 and a Starbucks gift card and we'll be good, right? So I kudos to her for seeing the value and appreciating the value, and I'm really looking forward to having her join our team.
Yeah, good. If just shameless plug on the newsletter, actually that was the topic of my newsletter this morning, is the Working Genius. So you can find it on optometrysimplified.com, or find me on LinkedIn. You can find the newsletter there. So I expanded on that Working Genius. So you're going to love it. It's been an unbelievable tool for our culture and our practice. It kind of becomes this common language that you use over and over again in just random discussions in the office too. You kind of call each other out in a good way, like, oh, that was a real, my team will call me out, like, that was a real, like, discerning moment, because one of mine's discernment, or wow, you're really wondering right now, so we can play on those things. So it's definitely fun. It'll be helpful for you. So, well, let's dive in. We've got the book of the last 6 weeks. We should say month, but really the last 6 weeks because we've delayed it. The Stress Paradox. I did the old handy listen this time around. let's see here, by Sharon Horesh Bergquist, MD. So, what were your first impressions on this month's book?
So mine were I'll just kind of kick it off here. If we look at where stress got a bad name, it was in a Nature magazine by a publication in 1936. And it stuck that stress was a bad thing. And so you see throughout the world, or throughout the book here, the propaganda that is taught to us that's really hard to undo, even though it's been disproven over and over again. I think it's good to start right there, where in an industry, asking better questions, asking deeper questions, because I know all of us since COVID have become therapists and primary care doctors, and now there's all this talk of oculomics and everything that's going on through the eye, that we are talking about those. So her big thing on, really we'll get into it here, but the genetics piece to it versus what you can actually change. And that's where, this little book club has really expanded my horizons and expanded my mindset. And as leaders, that's why we came together, was seeing this was missing in our space and beyond. So I think this book, although it was very sciencey, and I'm like, we did so much of that, it's like not my jam, by the way.
Yeah, you apologized via text like 3 weeks into the month. You're like, I'm sorry for recommending this book.
Maybe I was just apologizing to myself. But because it gets down really to, she looks really heavy, obviously being an MD is the science of it. But
yeah,
man, it was a fascinating read.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Aaron?
I thought the same thing too. I think the intro started hard, and then I'll be honest, it kind of petered out at the end with all the sciences and the examples. But the message was strong. I listened to it as well. In fact, if unless you don't follow me on LinkedIn and you've been living under a rock, I am the recent owner of the Oakley Meta Vanguards. Dude, if you're an athlete outside, right, I've finally found a flaw in them, and the only flaw that I've found thus far is that they don't yet come in transition lenses. And with the time change, I like to run at night. I'm an evening workout guy, not a morning workout person. Although I did wear them on my treadmill and look super cool, but I wanted the stats. So I've been listening to them on that, and I've just been blown away by that technology. So, but I enjoy listening to books like this while I'm running, because it my brain kind of half pays attention, the other half just processes and gets me thinking. And so I appreciated the shift into positive stress, good positive stress. The reminder that mom was right, that I need to eat more vegetables and get more sleep and work out a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was a really good reminder that not all stress is bad, not all challenges are bad. In fact, to grow, you have to be challenged. You have to have stress. You have to overcome some adversity to get to where we want to go, whether it's from a health standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a life standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. Just to comment on the Oakleys, side tangent here. I showed your video to my one of my opticians yesterday, and we immediately ordered myself a pair. So I'm excited to test run them as well.
They're I've got so many more like links that I was ready and posts that I was ready to put up on LinkedIn, but I put pause. I'm like, I can't be that guy. It's just nobody else is sharing the same excitement I'm sharing, but I do have a small subgroup of people that have it, and Kyle, who works for Oakley, is a good friend of mine. He's a mountain biker up in like Mammoth area, and he sent me a video of his. He's like, I didn't realize I talk so much to myself during the rides, but two, how much I like swear at myself, and so it Yeah,
That's
I
fun.
made sure to edit anything I put up, but running on the side of the road and trails isn't probably as death-defying as some of the trails he rides in mountain bikes. But it's kind of neat just to see the world differently and go back and relive the world that you just experienced.
For sure. And exercise would be, she outlined, 5 different types of stress, right? 5 different kind of categories of stress. And I believe, exercise was one of those. Another one was essentially like nutritional, so different types of foods. Another one was like temperature type stress. What were the other 2?
Psychological stress.
Yep.
And her last one,
Psychological fasting. And then I think the plant one she called phytochemicals.
That's right. Yep, the phytochemicals. That's right. And really, it's the whole idea that, like you said, Brianna, it's we have this. I like how you use the word propaganda. We have this mindset that all stress is bad stress, but the reality is that gosh, we don't improve, we don't get better at anything, we don't get healthier if we don't have the right amount of stress in our lives. And that's just the way we're built. That's the way that we function well, and both physically and psychologically. And so that's the whole premise of the paradox. Why she uses the word the paradox of stress is that we actually need stress, but yet we have definitely in our industry. You're right, but just like in our culture, for sure, in the American culture, we are trying to create so much immunity and immunity towards stress. We're trying to insulate ourselves tremendously from any sort of stress because we feel like it's bad. But the reality is in a culture like this, we have to almost work harder to induce or put ourselves in those stressful environments, and in those different, one of those 5 categories on a daily or weekly basis for us to continue to thrive and grow and reach our own individual potential.
So she redefines stress.
It's funny you
as it
mentioned that, Kyle. I was just gonna say it's funny you mentioned that, Kyle. My daughter and her teenage friends were over, and the Wi-Fi went down. They were playing a whatever game on their phones together. And I've learned that that's their way of engaging. Right? They're on their phones, but they're engaging with each other. But the Wi-Fi went down for a minute, and they froze. Like the hard drive crashed. They couldn't figure out what to do, and it was an interesting watching that scenario and seeing how they, that challenge and that stress that they had to try to overcome. Now they all failed miserably at overcoming it. It just, became this, end of the world type of moment until I just rebooted the system. But I thought it was funny in our world that you said that we've got to kind of manufacture, try to find problems because we tend to have it so good. You don't have to find food. It's a matter of arguing over whether I want Mexican or hamburgers or Chinese or Himalayan, whatever fast food I want to grab. It's not, I don't have to worry about running water. It's just a matter of who left the water on and being annoyed that it takes an extra 10 seconds for the water to get hot in the shower. So it's almost made us soft, and I think it's part of the reason why we have discussions about work-life balance. And I'm not minimizing those discussions at all, but where's the right time to fight and push, and where's the right time to turn it off and enjoy the things that we have. I think that the managing and learning how to manage the challenges that come our way in and of itself have created more problems.
Well, and she redefines stress as stress makes the brain reorganize by changing the neuron brain stress. And so I think we're also in this time period, like when you see it with myopia management or dry eye, we're taught that a lot of it's genetics and you can't change genetics. Well, that's just not true. And so 25% of it is your genetics, 75% of it is your epigenetics, which you can actually change. And we all know what we have to do. We have to eat better. We have to exercise. We have to keep our mind right. And that's where I think we're going sideways a little bit. But then you see the people out there that are doing it. And this isn't all rainbows and butterflies on this call. I don't want it to sound like that at all either. which I love about this group too, because you're going to be laughing and crying and having good days and bad days. And that's really what gives you the confidence that you need. So good stress is about focusing your attention, boosting your confidence, so you can now deal with that again. You don't learn when it's easy, you learn when it's hard. And as business owners, realizing this is a marathon. The business that we're in is one patient at a time. This we talk a lot about scaling, and the books that we're reading is about 10xing yourself and those types of things. But it really is one patient at a time. This industry is locked in to so much comfort that it actually scares me. The three of us have talked a lot about that. On the pain points that we need to feel that we haven't really felt yet. And you see it in the Facebook groups, you see it in what's coming down the path. I don't even think we've felt it yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like we talked about it before, and I always use the phrase we've been successful despite ourselves for far too long, and so we have an experience. We become really comfortable. We become fat and happy. So then we haven't been through situations that have experientially trained us to make hard decisions in our practices, or make the right decisions in our practices to really grow them, just because, frankly, we're in a pretty insulated industry, and we've done really well for many, many decades. And now that we've got just the emergence of some, online competition in that, it has created a situation where we're perceiving this as like a huge threat. When in reality, it is a little bit of a stressor, but actually it's something that's going to press us, and if we utilize it correctly, it's going to press us to make the right decisions and move the industry forward in a way that is going to be, super beneficial. So I'm going to come back. Sorry to do this. I just wanted to, for the listener that hasn't read the book, the 5 stressor categories, I finally found them on ChatGPT. Thank you, Chat. Phytochemical, plant food stress. So stress from consuming a variety of plant foods with their natural toxins or stress compounds. Physical stress, exercise. So stress from movement, strength training, aerobic work, etc. Thermal stress, or heat and cold exposure stress. Metabolic stress, or intermittent fasting or food timing type of stress. And then emotional or mental or psychological challenging stress. So those are your official 5 categories of stressors that she really, she expanded on that. I would agree with our overall assessment of the book. I liked it, but I felt like it could have been like an hour podcast that I would have probably got the same amount out of, you know what I mean? For those that are, I'm not too nerdy in terms of like getting into the biology. I don't need to know that personally. So a lot of times when she was making her case, and I know she needs to make her case because some people read that with a pretty critical eye. We're probably not. So she needed to make her scientific case for each one of those. So if you're interested, definitely pick it up and read it. And she really does unpack the science behind a lot of this stuff. But.
Well, and as you see a lot of this coming on,
totally agree.
The market right now is the cold plunging heat therapy. So, and longevity, that's all the talk right now. So in eye care, you have all these things that are looking at your bio age. So I love how she talks about aging in the book. She's like, you're not aging, you're just remodeling is what she says.
That's fantastic.
You look at those patients, right, where they're 90 years old, they have a smile on their face, they're still laughing, they're still joking, and you know that that's how they were in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, up to this decade. And then you look at those patients on the other side that are grumpy as hell, miserable, not aging well, not having a good time, and that's a big piece of this. And on the food side of it, we probably shouldn't even go down that rabbit hole, but our food is just, it's freaking terrible in the U.S. at this point. If you're a big traveler like I am over to Europe, the hardest time I ever coming back from Europe is going back into our grocery stores, because they have, it tastes so much better over there. And she makes the case there's 30,000 different things that we could eat in this planet, and we eat 30. So expanding your horizons is a big deal. And then having a picky kid, like, that's another different arena, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's interesting
so
how she's looking at all of it.
Yeah, she even says, like, I never even thought about that before, but not even just the amount of, like, your phytochemical or plant food stress, but just the variety, like just having a variety, because each different type of plant is going to have its own unique type of a toxin that is going to have a different, stressor on your body, which is a good thing. I never really thought of that before. For me, it's like, as long as I get my, my handful of spinach today, I'm good. I got my greens, threw it in my smoothie. But the reality is like, yeah, that's okay. But what's the variety? Where's the additional types or different types of toxins that I could introduce into my body? That'd be helpful. Do either of you do any thermal stress, cold plunges, saunas, anything like that? Because it is all the rage these days.
No.
Yeah,
The
we
only
just
thing I'll
actually.
do is at the end of a run, I'll jump in the I'll wade into the pool enough for my legs to get cold, just to try to help with the post run, or if it's a beach run, I'll wade into the ocean enough. But I don't do it for a cold therapy. I do it more just to try to calm the inflammation in the knees so I can walk a little bit better the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just actually did a fun mixer for the students in our area and then our local society. We did a workout, we did some breath work, and then we did the hot sauna cold plunges. And I've been doing this now. I was introduced to it actually in Boulder with Bart Foster, where we got into the Boulder Creek, which is very cold because it's obviously all the snow runoff. And it is fascinating. So how she came upon this was, as a resident, she couldn't wait for her water in New York City to get warm, and so she started cold plunging and herself just into the shower. But in Florida, the water doesn't get that cold. In Colorado, and where Kyle and San Diego, you guys live, like, the water is cold in your shower. And she says something here too, where when you think of different levels of stress tends to harm us when we have uncertainty or we think we can't do anything about it. And in our field, I feel that that's where so much of these Facebook groups come at it, where we on this call are proactive to the nth degree and control what's in our control. So she also brought up the purposeful rumination, examining what went well, understanding its significance and its outcomes, and then contemplating alternative approaches. That's constructive recovery versus repetitive rumination when we're worrying broadly or excessively and can't let go of a real or perceived threat. We don't have a lot of those anymore. And on the day-to-day, that's where you're in control. When you can take one thing on at a time, focus on it, see it through, and then overcome to the next hurdle. So there's a lot of this, like, the obstacle is the way. All of those things, we're not dealing with stress enough. So then when it comes at us, I think we're all shocked.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think there's a connection? Have you read, gosh, I'm going to, I can't even remember the book. I was hoping it would just come to my mind as I was speaking. I need to look it up. It's a Stanford psychologist. It's about addiction. I'll have to look it up after I describe it. Basically, she talks about addiction, and it is fascinating to read because of how the brain basically, the connection I'm making to that is she talks about, like, when you are inundated with dopamine, right, from whatever it is, maybe it's the addiction that you have, or it's just like social media addiction, or it's TV, or whatever it is, then you are out of balance in terms of the chemicals in your brain. And I'm going to do this. People that are listening or that have know what I'm talking about are like, what are you talking about? But anyhow, essentially to balance that out, you have to have like stress in your life. You have to do really, really hard things. Essentially, like there's this balance between pain and pleasure. And so a lot of times people that are constantly like dopamine rush, addicted to something, like whether it's something, more mild in terms of the, like I said, social media or TV or something like drugs or something like that. One antidote to that is actually to stress yourself out and do really, really hard things to essentially tip the balance back, And the connection I'm just making in my mind as you were talking about that is like, I just wonder if that's part of like we talked about before, part of what we're seeing in a lot of our colleagues of like, there's probably a lack of hard things that they've actually encountered in their business and life. And then there's also this surplus of opportunities for dopamine in our culture. There's this surplus of opportunities for to be on social media. I mean, I'm on as just as much as anybody else is. Sometimes I've had to put guardrails around my LinkedIn usage. I'm not on, Twitter or Facebook or anything like that anymore. But you just wonder if there's a correlation with that of like, the more that we're on social media, the more that we're on these tools that do just ramp up the pleasure center, the less we're actually able to adapt and adjust to healthy forms of pain and stress. And it's just almost like a cyclical thing that's happening. I don't know, I'm just speculating, pontificating here.
No, I think you're spot on. I think we've tried to avoid stress as much as we can, and seeked out pleasure. And I think there's a growing number, maybe I'm just aware of it, but growing number of books like The Obstacle is the Way, or all the David Goggins stuff about, running crazy amounts of feats. I think that's why we saw a huge increase in CrossFit type guys. Now it's called Hydrox and something else. Spartan races became real big, obstacle courses. And I think that deep down, maybe we don't consciously are aware that we have this need to be stressed and challenged, but we feel like we need to. Perhaps that's why we're also driven towards sports like football and watching the Olympics and different things, because we want to see the crazy feats that they're putting themselves through. Now, mind you, I'm sitting on the couch in a recliner with my feet up, eating some, not healthy recommended food from the book. But I think that there's a need for us to have this type of stress in our lives. We just we haven't done a good job currently in society of understanding balance and moderation, which is why I think we're seeking balance and moderation, and there needs to be just that right amount of stress, of relaxation, of pleasure, of fasting and eating and all the others.
She talks too about like your stress bank account, where look at bad stress as your bills and then good stress as your resilience funds. So deliberately taking on stress. And I know all of us are, well, we've done that book as well together, Positive Intelligence. So I know all of you are hyperachievers on here. But that what got you here, that's your new floor. So I constantly getting asked, how do I do it all? And my answer constantly is, I don't. So I'm doing the things that light me up. Not that I haven't done all those things, right? Every one of us have worn every single hat in the practice, but it's about deliberately doing things that light you up, doing hard things, like you said, Kyle, because that becomes your new baseline. And that's actually what leads to joy and strength. So there was I was listening to an Alex Hormozy podcast the other day, and he brought up this thing about consistency. So what you're seeing here, us 14 episodes in, is now we're able to pick a book read it, talk about it, which is cool because now you're in that teaching mode. But he brings up the word consistency. In order to see consistency, you have to be consistent yourself. So when you go to the gym and you see the same people, really your body is the only thing you can't buy. And looking fit is part of it. So if you're here giving patients that you want them to eat better and you want them to sleep better, are you taking that own advice as doctors yourself? Because we know that really doctors are the most unhealthy people. When you look at when was their last blood work or your last full eye exam, and work your way backwards. So that's, I think, the beauty of where we sit in the exam chair, especially as eye doctors, is because you're looking at all those things. You can take a sit back and recommend those things. And my patients here, like, no one's ever taught me that. Like, if you're on a statin drug, that you should be taking a CoQ10 supplement. Why didn't my doctor recommend that? So it's learning these little antidotes along the way that really build up your perseverance. Because again, this is one patient at a time, guys. It's doing a good job from check-in to check-out.
The book
I love that you referenced the bank account. I talk with my team all the time because I think another stressor that she didn't talk about is financial stress. And I don't mean financial stress that I have lots of bills coming in. I mean you want me to take how much out of my biweekly paycheck to put into a retirement account that I'm not going to see? How am I going to live on 10% less a paycheck? How do I budget? How do I not get what I want right now? How do I not buy everything I just put in my Amazon cart because I've convinced myself I need it all? And I talk with my team constantly about how current indentured servitude is by choice because you've chosen to make yourself financially responsible or financially dependent on the paycheck from me. And I want them to get away from that. I would love to have what I teach them is FU money, where they've got enough money in the bank where they get mad at me one day and said, I don't need this job. FU, Aaron, I'm out of here. Right? I've got enough money to float me for the next couple of months until I get a new job. I hope they don't ever say that way, but I want them to have that independence. But to get there, they need the stress of being disciplined, of saving and planning for retirement, which unfortunately not enough of them do. And so I think that one is a stressor she didn't talk about in the book that is worth talking about in financial planning. But it's all the same concept, right? How much do you have in that bank so that you can tap into when you need to? And even, I would argue even less, do I look like the epitome of health when I'm counseling patients, to am I healthy enough to handle the stress of the afternoon when I just had 3 walk-ins show up and 3 emergencies and 2 employees call out sick? Am I in a place where I can deal with that flood of adrenaline and need to be able to think clearly to process it and manage the complexities that just got thrown my way?
I don't just recommend Peak Pro to my patients. I use it daily, and so does my whole family. Honestly, it's one of those rare products my wife and daughters all love. So much so they actually fight over who stole the tea tree cleanser, the peptide cream, or even the hyaluronic acid. I had no idea this would be the case when I introduced them to the Peak Pro products. But I've learned they're a great company to work with, and their lineup covers everything from daily eyelid hygiene to deep hydration. I highly recommend checking them out. We've got a special affiliate link in the show notes, and use code WARNER for 25% off. The Myopia Collective. CooperVision and the AOA have partnered in a groundbreaking initiative to change the way optometrists in the U.S. treat children with myopia. The purpose of the Myopia Collective is to rally the profession of optometry and its allies to interrupt the status quo and elevate the new standard of care for children with myopia. Every individual is encouraged to become a member of the collective. By joining, you commit to taking action to help slow the progression of myopia in children. You'll receive updates and information about the collective and its work in the fight against myopia, gain access to educational opportunities and resources offered by the collective, and hear from change agents, the ambassador optometrists selected to serve as advocates for community and policy change that facilitates the mission of the collective. Scan the QR code or click on the link in the show notes to join the collective today.
In the past,
Our focus revolved around prescribing MacuHealth or MacuHealth Plus to patients at risk of macular degeneration, while also recommending it to collegiate and professional athletes for enhanced contrast sensitivity in sports performance. However, this year's introduction of the Life Meter has been a game changer. The Life Meter revealed a concerning truth. Many of my patients have alarmingly low skin carotenoid levels, indicating potential deficiencies in essential body tissues like the retina and brain. Supported by over 30 peer-reviewed publications, Life Meter's accuracy, consistency, and effectiveness has been demonstrated across 2,000 subjects with diverse backgrounds. With this newfound insight, I can now have meaningful conversations about carotenoid levels with all of my patients, even those who may seem outwardly healthy. To learn more about this empowering technology, feel free to contact your MacuHealth representative or click on the link in the show notes. Together, let's optimize patient care and elevate their well-being.
Yeah, that's good. The book I was thinking of, Dopamine Nation by Anna Lemke, Dr. Anna Lemke. Fantastic book. So
Yep.
Add it to your to-read list. One of the places, I mean, I'm always going to be like, my ear's going to perk up anytime somebody references Viktor Frankl. And I forget what chapter it is. I believe she referenced Viktor Frankl talking about like psychological or emotional stress, I believe. And maybe not. Maybe I was just making a connection in my mind to it. But one of the things she does talk about, though, is, you know, this whole kind of big picture is the common thread throughout is basically like the stress that you are getting in your life, or the stress that you are experiencing in your life, really is going to, how it affects you is going to be largely, not completely, it's not all about the mindset. There's obviously more to it than that, but is going to affect you largely based upon the meaning that you assign to that stress. So like if you assign, and you were getting at this a bit ago, Brianna, but if you assign meaning to the stress in your life in a positive way, that you know that this is stress is necessary. Like if you really deeply believe that stress is necessary for growth, that just belief in and of itself is going to create opportunities for you and help you grow as both just, you know, personally and professionally, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as an optometrist, unbelievably well. Like I've heard, I believe I was listening to a Huberman podcast, maybe, I don't know how long ago it was, but he made the connection. He was talking about the growth mindset. And to him, like the two mindsets that are super powerful together is both the growth mindset, which is essentially the belief that it's not results, it's not talent that gets you anywhere, it's effort. So if you just believe that you can improve, just the mere belief that all you have to do is put effort into something to improve, and you will, that's way more powerful than the fixed mindset that believes our traits and our capabilities are fixed, and that's going to be a recipe for stagnation. But he was making the connection of like, if you have the growth mindset and you have this stress as improvement or stress as helpful type mindset combined together, just think how mentally strong and powerful and consistent you could be in whatever you're doing, whether it's just as a parent or you know, as a spouse, or obviously as an optometrist or as a leader of your practice. Having those two mindsets combined are pretty powerful. And I think she hints at some of those things in one of the chapters on psychological stress.
Yeah, and it also, like, Aaron, you hit on it a little bit earlier with this work-life balance thing. It's just your life, guys. It's just life. We all are getting thrown at it. Right now, I'm in the sandwich generation with my parents, 2 young kids, what's going on there. And she says here, as physicians, we've been wrong about our job in medicine. We think our job is to ensure health and survival, but really, it's larger than that. It's to enable well-being, and well-being is about the reasons one wishes to be alive. So I don't look at this as balance. I look at it as presence. So when I'm present with my kids, I'm there. When I'm at work, I'm there. I think where this gets out of whack is when you're there hoping you were there, and when you're here hoping you were there. So that's what's fun as a business owner is, yeah, there is a lot on your plate. But I, like you guys, I wouldn't have it any other way. I chose that. And I choose it every day. And the day that I don't is the day I'm going to obviously look for something else. And the delayed gratification here, that's where success comes from. That's like the Warren Buffett model, compounding interest. Aaron, what you were talking about with your employees, we don't have enough of that. So it reminds me of a story. My 9-year-old, we were at the grocery store, and my 4-year-old loves Hot Wheels. I mean, addicted. Like, it's actually a problem. But I will much rather buy him a Hot Wheel than I will give him an iPad. So it's just, live the season that you're in. So my 9-year-old goes to him, he goes, I will give you this $1 for the Hot Wheel, or in 10 years, I'll give you $10. And that's what we call compound interest. And I was like, oh my gosh, this kid hasn't fallen far from the tree. So that's what makes this fun, is when you start to see that what's reflected back to you through your employees, through your team members, through those around you. You're that net drawing that in. And so you're going to see in the world through that lens what you want to see.
Yep. Absolutely.
So,
and I think that lens is super important. Kyle, your comment, and Brianna, yours just made me remember a quote that my mom used to have framed when I was growing up. She had a quote framed in my bedroom that is both attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson and Heber J. Grant, who was a religious leader. But the quote is, "That which we persist in doing becomes easier to do, not that the nature of the thing has changed, but that our power to do it has increased." And so it's funny that I haven't thought about that in a long time, but as we're talking, right, things don't get easier. Our persistence are just showing up, just keeping to try the things that we can control, fighting that stress every day, or rather embracing that stress every day to try to accomplish what we want to accomplish helps us get there. Because gosh, isn't it so frustrating when people are successful and you're like, that's the dumbest person I've met. How can they get that when I'm way smarter than them, and I'm still struggling at it? And I think the answer is just the persistence aspect.
Yes.
Not that I would ever call somebody dumb, but like we've all thought it.
So have you changed anything, altered anything in your weekly routine based upon what you learned in this book in terms of some of the 5 stressors? Anything come to mind?
Well, I think that we've been on this journey together for a while, like in starting book club and how it came about. Like, we wanted to get to this next level of ourselves and leadership, and it's fun that the books that have come in and out. One for me is realizing that I really was already fasting. So that was cool to she puts a number on it, not just condensed eating. So I'm sharing more of that with patients, because now we see a lot of patients that are on these medications to help them lose weight, and they're just not doing it the right way. So I feel like that's upon me to, hey, yes, this is like a starvation point, but you're not getting enough protein here to fill you up. Like, you're eating at the wrong type. That's why you're losing the weight. I feel like I'm totally an extremist, but love cold plunging, love hot, like live in South Florida, can live in Colorado, wherever it may be. And the exercise piece has just always been an outlet for me for as long as I can. But I'm still a really crappy eater. So, I don't know, you got to pick your poison.
I thought for an extra 5 seconds on whether I want to engage in cold plunging, and the answer is still hell no. Surfing is cold enough, but I'm in a wetsuit. That's true. I find zero enjoyment of getting in an ice bath. Revisiting more the fasting from a purpose standpoint. I think most of my fasting is just out of necessity, that I get up and start working immediately and am fueled by black coffee and forget to eat until lunchtime. But having it be more purposeful is there. Snacking at the end of the day is my weakness. If there's that little tub of ice cream in the freezer, it's Chris and I talked about it once. It's so hard to say no to ice cream. But I think that just having a bigger awareness of why I'm putting myself through some of the physical stresses that I do was nice to revisit and just have reaffirmations that it's positive that we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I've I think I shared maybe last time or whatever, however long ago, I've been battling some running injuries, so that's been brutal for me. But as I was just trying to remember as you guys were talking whether I was I promise I was listening, but I was also thinking about what I was going to say. I admit I was trying to think when I started this. Was it because of the book or right before the book? But I'm with you, Brianna. I have a hard time resisting foods that I shouldn't eat. I got a huge sweet tooth, and one of my favorite things to do, it's not ice cream at night, it's just a giant bowl of cereal. And whatever it is, just I don't care. Cereal with some good whole milk, giant bowl, after dinner, after I put the kids to bed, is just the greatest thing in the world to me. So, I know it's bad for you. I know it's horrible, but it's just good stuff. But what has helped me recently, and like I said, I can't remember when I started this. I think it was 4 to 6 weeks ago. I started doing I've experimented with some fasting in the past, but I started, and I've been able to sustain this for, I think I'm on week 6 now, is I will stop eating at 7, and then I won't eat again until 11 or after the next day. So I have 11 to 7, I have an 8-hour feeding window and a 16-hour fasting window. And I still drink coffee during the fasting portion time. I still drink plenty of coffee in the morning, but that's usually the only thing I have, coffee and water. And honestly, that has been, I'm not gonna say game changer, even though that came to mind. I hate that phrase. But it's been as close to a game changer as I could possibly imagine, because what it's been really doable for me. I didn't think it was going to be, but honestly, I don't feel any hunger pains. I feel like I'm actually more alert. It's kept my energy levels a lot more level throughout the day. And then it's also, I think, I don't know if you've heard of the phrase from Jocko Willink. If you know who Jocko Willink is, he's the, extreme ownership guy, ex-Navy SEAL. He says discipline begets discipline. And essentially, when you can control one part of your life, you're disciplined about one, that tends to overflow into other parts. And I've noticed by doing that, if I just commit myself to that rule, I actually don't crave. My cravings are down for the foods that I know I shouldn't eat, because I know I have I got an 8-hour window, and I got to get in the protein that I need for the day. I got to get in the nutrients I need for the day. So that part has been pretty helpful for me personally. So we'll see how long I can keep going, but I feel like it's something that's been really sustainable, and it's not something I have to resist or think about all day or plan for. It's more of a natural kind of routine.
That's cool.
There's a quote where it says the
Skylar.
work begins. Oh, sorry. It says the work begins when your motivation ends. And right there, a lot of your hearing too is sustainability. So one thing I did was just move my wake up time I'm really down to the minutes here, by 27 minutes to get some of these things in. And if you look at these, what my coach helped me do was look at these little things as micro experiments. You need to get to week 6, because life is about longevity, right? You don't want these last 2 decades of your life to just be this kind of free fall where it's that slow, you should live and die. She even says that in the book. You don't want it to be that slow painfulness at the end. And one thing in here, she says the right mindset and knowledge about your health sets you up for success. So even at the Inc. 5000, they were talking about a lot about longevity. So Damon John is obsessed about it now. He's investing in a lot of companies that way. Jake Plummer was talking about mushrooms, and we really are fungi, and like he was going even into like psychedelics and stuff, which was really entertaining. And the piece to that is give yourself grace. Be compassionate to yourself. She says that in the book, be kind and compassionate to yourself as you would a close friend. So if you go down a path and you don't like it, just take a detour. Start to dabble in these things. And it comes down to a community. So that's what I'm grateful for in my work life, my home life. All of that is really that sense and that purpose of community, which I think many of us have gotten away from. So even like on the social media side, guys, it's social first. You're there to socialize. Engage with other things. That's what it's there for. Don't just mindfully scroll to scroll, like be there. I think that's a core piece that we're missing.
Awesome. Well, any last thoughts on the book this month? And then also, any thoughts on the book next month?
Well, thoughts on this book, I thought it, good reminder that stress is good. I think sometimes we like the big fancies, hit a home run, throw a Hail Mary, but it's the fundamentals. We talked about the flywheel with Don Miller, and just it's the showing up, the basic things, the day in, the day outs. I think being okay that things aren't always comfortable, and embracing the comfort, whether it's embracing the suck like you're a David Goggins guy, or the obstacle is the way if you're a stoic. It's all kind of saying the same thing. And as much as I don't like kale, that I still need to eat it when appropriate. And I think that the last thing is that I'm thinking as we're listening through this is that Simon Sinek, I believe it's him, that talks about there's finite games and infinite games, right? The businesses that we're in, whether it's life, whether it's our own careers, for the most part, they're infinite. And so we're never going to win. So we need to not have that mindset of I'm trying to win, and more have the, hey, I'm just trying to improve, get better, enjoy the journey. Because if you try to win, it's impossible. There is no winner. But if we can enjoy the journey, if we can celebrate our successes, see the negatives as learning opportunities, I think that's where we find the joy.
Mine is remember how much is in your control. Focus on that, worry about that. And she even says, like, being kind, it's good for your heart. And I think we need more kindness, not only to ourselves, but to our neighbors. Remember if somebody's late to your practice, greeting them with a smile, right? We're probably running behind too. So just really, just don't be an asshole. Like, number one rule. And there's too much of that now. Like, let the person in front of you. Don't use your horn. Like, it's getting back to the being human side, where our great grandparents did that in communities. They took care of one another, and we don't live that kind of stress anymore. So we do have to manufacture that. You're not worried about not eating, or not eating because your crops didn't grow in South Dakota in the winter. Like, we don't have that kind of stress anymore. You turn on the light switch, like you said, you have hot water, you have a meal to eat. Dan Martell thing is anything that money can fix is not a problem. So as long as you have your health, that's wealth. And even if you don't, like, you can still find those little things. So my mom struggles with, really, really bad, debilitating arthritis, and I'm constantly on her. Like, get up, move your body. And like, it doesn't feel good in the moment, but you see what happens.
Yeah. Absolutely. For me, it would just be that simple concept we talked about, is stress as enhancing mindset, and reframing most all stress that we see in our lives as something that's going to just enhance our experience of life, and our persistence, and ability to be consistent and persevere, all those things we said. So next book, Did we decide?
We did.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have it in front of them? I don't have it in front of me here. We're going to read The Science of Scaling by Benjamin Hardy. Is that correct?
That is
Yeah.
it.
I just finished this book. I flew through it, to be honest with you, because I thought it was phenomenal. It's one of my favorite books I've read in a while, so I'm super excited for us to discuss it. I'm not going to say anything else about it because I want us to have a great discussion. But I heard a few references to it. I didn't call them out. I've heard a few references to it from Brianna of some terminology she used today, so I can tell she's reading it as well.
Damn it, Kyle, you know all my tricks. And I don't like it. I love it.
That just
No.
means you're engaging with what you're reading. That's a positive thing.
It is.
I like
it's great.
it.
Well, and I think one thing too that we've realized in all these books is if you can take one, you're going to take one or two nuggets away from these that's going to stick
Yep.
with you. So if we kind of look back through all of the books, it's just that compounding of knowledge, and it's made me a better leader. It's made me a better wife. It's made me a better mother. It's made me a better friend. It's made me a better human. So if you have, 2 hours to doom scroll, 3 hours on Netflix a night, that's another thing I'm sure you guys get is like, when do you guys read all these books? Guys, it's not, it's not that hard.
Sit down and read. Just, yeah. Commutes.
You know where to find the
Good
time. I had this conversation with one of my team members because she specifically asked that. How do you have all the time to do this? And I said, pull up your phone. You have an iPhone. And I said, look at the time you spend on the different categories.
Yeah.
And it is appalling how much time has been sucked away from us. It didn't resonate with me until who's the goals guy? We read his book way at the beginning. In fact, he spoke twice at the Vision Source Exchange. John Acuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Instagram doesn't want you to write a book. Instagram doesn't want you to work on the project you're on. They want you to stay on Instagram because that's how they sell you.
Yeah.
They sell their product, right? Sell the ad space because you're there. And that, the way he said it just flicked a light bulb in my mind. And it's really amazing how much time we give to these people and give to these companies and give to these entities for the little return we get back. I mean, look, if we got a lot of happiness and joy out of it, I think it's worth it. Spending a day at Disneyland, I can justify the ridiculous amount of money that I'm going to spend when I take my family. But 8 hours a day on social media, I'm not getting a return on that. 6 hour, 1 hour a day, I'm really not getting a whole lot of return. Maybe the 20 minutes when I look at all the inappropriate reels that my friends have sent me, because I'm going to laugh directly because I know their level of humor. But that's where the time is, right? It's making the choice to say, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do that instead. And sometimes it's just shifting where you put that icon for the app on your phone. At least that's what I had showed her when she said, how do you have time to, listen to these books or read these? You have the time. It's just about adjusting and controlling, as you said, Brianna, earlier, and Kyle, you too, what you can control.
Awesome. Well, I have another challenge for you. I just thought of, so next month, I'm not sure, probably the first, maybe last week in November. No, it's Thanksgiving. We'll probably meet up again the first week of December. But let's have, this is the best time of year to start deciding on your to-read list for the next year. So I like to have, so that first week of December, most websites have the best books of, leadership, business, entrepreneurship books of the year for 2025. And so that's a great place to look through those lists and find what you're going to read for the following year. So if you guys can have your, your rough to-read list for 2026, let's share those with each other and the listeners, because I've got a few that I've recently come across and I'm like, ooh, that looks pretty good. So I'm excited to share those.
Yep. Hey, and speaking of books, I want to call out one of our doctors in our BookNerds community, Katie Chu, had recently published Chewy's Bold Move and purchased that. It's really, really well done. So I was excited to read it, and I read it a couple times already with Theo, my grandson. But well done, Katie Chu. It's on Amazon, so we'll make sure we link that as well in the show notes. But if you haven't heard of it or seen it or checked it out, she did a great job, and I want to make sure we give her credit for it.
Love that. Well, I think
Awesome.
that's a wrap,
Well,
guys.
Good job. See you next time.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.